Hi, and welcome to another 5-minute UAD tip. Today we're going to bring analog tape saturation and delays into the mixing process using the Studer and Ampex tape emulation plugins. We'll look at a couple of applications, using the Studer A800 to glue a rhythm section together, and the Ampex ATR-102 for tape delay and again for final mixdown. The possibilities with these plugins are nearly endless, but it's really easy to get great sounds with just a little experimentation. The A800 is most effective when used across several tracks, producing a rich cumulative effect. Drums are particularly well suited to track through the Studer because the tape softens transients and adds a subtle bass boost that makes percussion instruments sound bigger. In this example, I'm using the A800 plugin on each of the individual drum tracks as if we were recording to a single machine. Starting with the default settings, you can see that the tape type is Ampex 456 at 15 IPS, or inches per second, and calibrated to +6 operating level. That's a really nice place to start, and simply inserting it across the drums sounds pretty great. Here are the raw drums. And here's the Studer with the default settings. The four tape types modeled in the A800 plugin go from lowest output to highest from left to right. GP9 provides the lowest distortion and noise, whereas 250 distorts fairly early and is noisier due to its lower output. Thanks to auto-calibration, you can freely experiment with the different tape types and speeds without having to recalibrate the machine, and every combination is tuned to the manufacturer's recommended specs. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time to let your ears adjust to the subtleties each tape type brings to your music. When you use the A800 across multiple tracks, it's really helpful to use the Gang Controls feature. Engaging it lets you edit settings across all instances of the plugin at once, such as auditioning tape speeds or formulas. Let's add a little more saturation now by hitting the tape harder and use the output to match gains. Of course, you can spend hours working with the hidden controls and listening to the many artist presets. But since the hard work of calibrating the machine is automatically done for you, just experimenting with the basic controls gives you fantastic results. Alright, let's move on to the bass. This 2-track part has a bass guitar doubled with a synth an octave below. Let's use the A800 on both tracks to saturate and thicken the basses. Some of the notes are really low, so we'll use the GP9 tape formulation, which offers the flattest frequency response and lowest distortion. We'll set the operating level to +9 and drive the front end conservatively since we want to keep the part nice and crisp while adding warmth and saturation. Here's a before. And here's after. Notice how the saturation makes the parts more cohesive and brings out the lower octave of the synth bass. Now let's have some fun with the guitar and add some ADT-style tape delay to the slide. We're going to use a mono to stereo instance of the ATR-102 and use some of the hidden controls to make this happen. The tape speed determines the initial delay times, and from there, we'll offset the left and right sides to make it wider. Then, we'll use wow and flutter to modulate the delays and keep them moving. Lastly, we'll use the dry and wet buttons to blend in the perfect amount of effect. Here it is dry, and here it is with the delays. To finish up, we'll put the ATR-102 across our master bus and mix down through it. Again, just inserting it with the default settings improves the sound. On this tune, 15 IPS is perfect because we want the head bump to enhance the lows and we want the saturation to gel the mix. Here's the raw mix. And here it is through the ATR-102. And here it is at 30 IPS. It's still nicely saturated, but much brighter, and there's not as much bass bump in the lower octave. And with some extreme settings, you can take your mixes to an entirely different place, like using the sun-baked cassette preset. The Studer A800 and Ampex ATR-102 are incredibly deep plugins, so be sure to have a good read of the software guide to learn about the rest of the hidden controls and parameters, and be sure to check out some of the fantastic artist presets and take it from there. Whether you're tracking, mixing, or adding special effects to individual tracks, the A800 and ATR-102 give your music the incredible sound and vibe of analog tape.